This is the Balancing Act by Security Compass, your guide to going fast while staying safe in today's digital world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Our guest with us today is Ayhan. Thank you so much, Ayhan, for agreeing to be on this podcast with us today.
My pleasure, Altaz. Thank you for having me.
So, Ayhan, we hear a lot today about DevOps and automation and speed. What are you seeing in terms of trends around DevOps today?
Right. Altaz, not only in development, but almost everywhere, it perfectly makes sense to automate the repeatable tasks. This is what I see these days, right? Otherwise, you have to do them manually, and which takes time, as you know. So naturally, most of the organizations today, they tend to kind of just leverage the automation and automated technologies and more, right? When we look at the automation in DevOps, we see that automation is kind of just intended to facilitate the agility and also the effective collaboration between the different teams. So as we can see here, that the main goal for the development automation, or what we call it the DevOps, is not purely speed, right? This is a kind of just a myth. And it is important to understand that DevOps is not all about the kind of just the tooling and the technology, where you only kind of just focus on the automation. So it has also the process, and it has also the kind of just the people ingredients in it, right? As such, it is becoming increasingly important for the organizations to have a balanced automation strategy over there. Balanced kind of DevOps strategy, right? This is what I kind of just observe more and more. Let's think about that. From a strategic perspective, speed is irrelevant if you are going into the wrong direction, right? For example, if a process in your automation is flawed, then the results that you are getting through that automation will be flawed as well, right? It's a natural byproduct. And unfortunately, I see many organizations make this mistake, and they try to adopt the DevOps merely from technology and speed to market perspectives, without kind of just striking the right balance between people, process, and the technology aspects. And the funny thing, when the organizations miss the balanced automation, then we see that DevOps becomes either DevOps, and agile is kind of becoming a bit more fragile these days, right? And we can kind of just see lots of, the breaches, data breaches, and security breaches are happening as a result of these, faulty processes over there, right?
Sure.
And in spite of all the advancements into the DevOps over the years, there are still a couple of issues that have not been addressed properly. This is what I observe these days as well. For example, the risk assessment of the changes, or security and privacy and regulatory impact of the changes. How these kind of just the changes is being tested, and how the changes will perform in production has not been kind of just well taught for some of the organizations in their CI/CD pipeline or the DevOps activities, right? The lack of the visibility here is presenting big challenges to the organizations. Like, one group is being seen as a bottleneck, and the most common one is the security group. Or we see that slower approvals and change management processes kind of just holding the teams, just up over there as well, right? So DevOps adoption, on the other hand, is growing rapidly in spite of these all faulty things in the kind of ingredients, because much of what IT departments used to do manually, it is now automated through the code. For example, in the past, when a new application was ready for a production, IT used to manually provision a server and deploy it and install the application. It was taking weeks, if not months. In the past, I got hired for 6 months for a consulting job, and the organization took 6 months to kind of just to set up a server over there, right? By the kind of the end of my contract is ended, that they were ready for kind of the deployment of the application, but hey, it was taking that long. Now they use code merely that they are using the code to provision a server onto the cloud and run applications almost automatically out of us, right? This is the huge kind of sort of difference. Now, I strongly believe that something similar needs to happen with the security within the DevOps as well. Speed is a great asset, but it is greater when it's combined with safety and the security, right? And also, there isn't one specific place where security should be done in this process. Security should be inserted in each and every stage of the SDLC, just sort of activities over there. And where possible, it should be automated and it should make a shared responsibility to everyone as well. Then the DevOps mindset is kind of just becoming one of the releasing and the managing applications securely, right? Just because some of the organizations are putting automated security scanners, is not going to be enough to bring end-to-end security to the applications. I think we're going to discuss this one during the kind of just sort of tool setups and tool kind of just sort of selections. But you need to include the automation in design, in architecture, application security requirements, development, training, and operations. It is a whole picture over there that you need to kind of bring the security holistically, right? There'll be, of course, the transformation of DevOps into the DevSecOps, as the developers will be looking to ensure that the security of their applications and make them error-free or vulnerability-free and breach any kind of the loopholes as well over there, right? That's what I see as a trend into the future, in the near future, is going to be an addition of an element of security to the development and operational aspects of the DevOps. The whole focus will be now on emphasizing the security aspects in the development lifecycle, right? And another thing that I observed, the cultural resistance to the embedding security practices is just kind of just arising more and more, right? And the main reason for this is mostly the kind of the inability to match the speed of the security to the DevOps process. So by incorporating the automated security activities and the compliance earlier in the process, it is possible that to kind of just achieve a balanced the quality of the software, and also kind of just allowing the organizations to go to the market much more faster, right? If you recall, Altaz, during the early days of the DevOps, there were lots of challenges, right? There were challenges in bringing development and operations together because developers wanted to move fast and change the code often, right? While the operations wanted stability and infrequent changes. And if you look at today, with the DevOps, with the right automation, with the proper technologies and processes, we did solve these problems. Now, it is time we need to do similar things to transform DevOps to DevSecOps. Right now, unfortunately, most of the security teams tend to favor the stability and infrequent change because change may mean repeating security activities such as testing and risk assessment and certifying to the environment all over again. But these needs to be kind of baked into the SDLC process, so that security is not a kind of just to be a inhibitor, but it will be a kind of just the enabler to the business again. So merely these kind of trends that I observe, Altaz.
Yeah, that's interesting. You brought up this idea of collaboration and making sure that we are addressing security now within the software development or DevOps processes. Does this imply now that we have to completely undo the pipelines that we've set up in DevOps in order to accommodate security, or are you seeing a gradual integration of security tools into the DevOps pipeline? How are you seeing the convergence of security and balancing, risk and all of these factors together as we produce software today?
Right. The DevOps kind of just sort of came to a certain maturity, although there are still some room for improvement. At this point, I wouldn't recommend kind of just, reinventing the wheel over there. And to be honest with you, some of the organizations already kind of just sort of incorporated security into the, DevOps activities. So, but how you do this makes the whole, just sort of difference, right? Some of the organizations are trying to do this one reactively, and that is a very, very kind of the sad thing that I see and I observe. They say, okay, we are putting a kind of just to the scanner over there into our CI/CD pipeline, so we are secure. No, you're not, right? I mean, just merely introducing a scanner, just to the code vulnerability scanner or kind of just to the other kind of the open source software vulnerability scanners, does not mean that you are kind of just providing end-to-end security. That's why I kind of just emphasize that one, that you need to bake the security into each and every phase of the SDLC activities. And the more you shift this one to the left, the more benefits that you will see from that, right? Mm-hmm. What needs to be done, and from the kind of just technology process and people perspective, number one is the people is the most important ingredient into the DevOps, right? We need to kind of just teach and educate people that security is the kind of just the joint effort, and it's everyone's responsibility. It's not only the kind of just the security team's responsibility. And I still see some kind of just the organizations where security is kind of just isolated from the developers and the other stakeholders, where they can kind of just run the security tool stack, in an isolated manner. We should kind of just remove these barriers, right? We did the same thing while we are marrying the dev to the operations. And now it is time to kind of marry the security to the development and operations, and make this one to the DevSecOps, right? Mm-hmm. And where to start? I mean, as I mentioned, right, the tools are good and it provides the automation to you. It's just nice, but they are not the kind of just the solve mechanisms that it needs to be there, right? You need to kind of just take a look at your people and process as well. Right. One of the most important thing is just the design, the security design and architecture over there. Otherwise, I mean, if you're kind of just doing the things in a wrong way, you will always find the vulnerabilities, issues when you scan those codes, right? So fix the problem so you don't have to deal with this. This is the mentality. And there are some kind of just tools out there over there to achieve this, right? Like the threat modeling. And you can automate somehow, and in some kind of just a certain point, the threat modeling activities, and you can kind of embed this one into your CI/CD activities over there as well, right? Start from the kind of just at the very beginning, right? And again, if you have a kind of just the user stories or security kind of just in the DevOps pipeline, you can include your security stories into there as well. Right, and you can kind of automate and reutilize those security stories as well. This is one thing. Once you are done with the kind of the design and architecture, and then it comes to your kind of just also the requirements as well. One of the most forgotten things is the application security requirements, right? It needs to be kind of just automated as well, right? And because these are usually manual things right now, what the information security teams do is they take a look at what you are trying to achieve from, just your requirements, functional requirements, and the tools and technologies that that you are planning to use, and they provide you the application security requirements. This needs to be kind of just automated somehow as well, right? And it ties to your kind of just the application security governance process, right, a bit. And once you are done with the requirements, the design and architecture, then comes to your kind of just to the developers, right? And as I mentioned, just merely kind of just putting a scanner in your CI/CD pipeline is not going to solve all the problems. The kind of the trick here is enable your developers with the latest tools, code scanners, or the SAST and DAST tools over there, so that they can kind of just do their development with these tools, and then they can check in the kind of just free of vulnerability code into the CI/CD pipeline, so that even if you are running over there a kind of the scanner, you're not going to find anything because they already fixed this issue, right? While they are developing the code, right? And once you are done that, I think that the testing activities needs to be there as well from the security testing perspective. We are good at kind of just testing the applications from functional perspective, but there is not much that we do from the security kind of this testing perspective. And again, it's a kind of just a joint effort. We need to kind of just educate our quality assurance people so that they can kind of participate in these activities, right? And then comes to kind of just the operations as well over there, right? But the idea is what I'm trying to imply here. It is an end-to-end process. You cannot kind of just put one part and claim that you are doing a DevSecOps, right? It needs to be coordinated. It needs to be well taught. And from kind of just sort of technology perspective, there are some tools out there that kind of just sort of helps to provide the visibility from the security perspective and kind of just sort of orchestration of all the efforts that I mentioned, right?
That's great, wonderful. That sounds good. So we're seeing a trend here that moves DevOps to include more security activities. And as we start to go forward with security, it's important for teams to understand that security needs to be baked into every phase of the life cycle, not just one part of it, and therein lies the value. Well, we thank you very much, Ayhan, for coming in today and for talking to us. Your insights have been very helpful. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you, Altaz. It's my pleasure. Bye.
Can't get enough of the balancing act? Make sure to check out our website at www.securitycompass.com and be sure to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts for more episodes.